Gilbert High School lost last night in the district championship, so it's officially football season, and it's in 13 days, and I couldn't be more excited about that. We've had a great summer as a football team, and notably with NCAA rule changes, we've been able to spend time around our kids. And that's made for a most enjoyable summer to watch our guys develop and to work and to train hard towards the 2014 season. We have 6 new coaches on our football staff. That's a lot of change. That's a lot of transition, highlighted by the addition of Mark Mangino to our staff. He inherits an offense that is experienced with a group of quality players. 2 of them are with us today. E.J. Bibbs, who I think is the best tight end in the Big 12 Conference, and certainly one of the best in the country. And Tom Farniak, a 4-year starter for us on offense. We also got playmakers in Quentin Bundridge at wide receiver and Aaron Wimberly at wide receiver. On the defensive side of the ball, will be a young, spirited group, and quite honestly, will be led by our defensive coordinator, veteran Wally Burnham, who's been doing it for a lot of years, and I look forward to watching him mold this group certainly in the month of August, if not the entire season. But Corey Morrissey joins us today. He'll be our leader on the defensive line. We've got a host of linebackers that will provide us great depth. Jevin Miller is with us today. And then I'm excited about what Nigel Tribune's going to develop as a second-year starting cornerback for us in the back end.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach. If you'll put your hand up, be sure and give your name and affiliation. We'll start over on the aisle on the right side. Coach, over on this side. Put your hand up.
Hey, Paul, Brian Balding with Fox Sports. Can you just elaborate a little bit about how Mark Mangino got to Ames here? Like, did you reach out to him? Was he available? Obviously he was available, but just the whole process of how he was able to come on board.
Yeah, I reached out to him and certainly had great respect for what he's done in our profession. It took me a week, one day to get to Pittsburgh through Detroit, and as weather can be that time of year, and condensed what the initial interview process I wanted it to be. You know, I spent 8 years in Pittsburgh, and Mark's a Western PA guy, so we knew each other through mutual people that way, and had a respect because of that. Coached against him in 2009, my first year as the head football coach at Iowa State, and then his proven track record as a play caller, as a tough guy type of coach, in what he could bring to our offensive mentality that way. But at the very top of the list was the simplicity with which his offenses have had success. And that was something that our program needed.
We've got a question on the aisle about 3/4 of the way back.
Trey Scott at Scout.com. Paul, do you have a target date or a certain number of practices trimming that quarterback competition from 3 to 2?
Well, August 16th, Trey, is our second full scrimmage, and by the end of that scrimmage, if not before, we'll be able to name the starter. And I think, as I should say, trimming the competition, it'll take place on a daily basis. But we're excited about the competition. We don't have a starter name, but we have 2 starting quarterbacks in our offensive system. There'll be a lot of coaches that would like to be able to say that as well, and I look forward to the competition as it begins on the 4th.
We're going to go all the way to the corner left side.
Barry Trammell with the Oklahoma. Paul, you got off to a rough start last season. Then you get Texas in that conference opener. Lose a heartbreaker. If you looking back, can you talk about how that game may have gotten you on the wrong track, and if you could have got that victory, what it could have done for the season?
Without getting in trouble, Barry, you're asking, or
go ahead.
Yeah, there's no question that devastating loss affected our football team. We came back the next week and fought like heck and lost the game by a touchdown. But then our butt started to drag a little bit lower, and we suffered some bad defeats. But with all credit credit to our kids. They continue to persevere, they continue to train Sunday to Saturday, and we finished with 2 victories and currently ride a 2-game winning streak going in to the 2014 season, and that certainly is what we're expanding and moving forward with.
We got a question about halfway back in the middle.
Paul, Bobby with Jess, Steve Tribune. With incoming freshman wide receiver Alan Lazard, what are you going to need to see from him for him to be able to play from day one for you guys?
Well, you got to pick up the system first, Bobby. No matter what position you're playing, you got to understand what it is you're doing, and then being productive at your craft. And you know, Alan is a physically matured young man. He came in and did a great job with our summer weight program this year, maybe even above our expectations as a coaching staff. And with that in mind, he's going to get his reps, he's going to get his opportunity to catch balls, and if he's where he's supposed to be and he's catching balls in the process, he'll have an opportunity to play right away.
Got a question on the aisle on the left side.
Kurt Bowles, Office of American Safety. Paul, not to cost you any money or not, but the Texas finish, did it make you lose some faith in the replay system?
No, I think it accurately depicted what the replay system is, and what it's not going to be capable of overturning. And what we've always known is the ruling on the field is most important. And if you're ever going to challenge as a coach, you want to know exactly what the ruling on the field is. But before you do that, you know, we didn't have to challenge. It was something that was going to be reviewed as it should have been. And it never produced what the rules state was enough information to overturn it. So I wouldn't say I've lost faith in it because of that. It doesn't make it any easier to swallow that loss, because it's a game that we certainly thought belonged to us as it played out on the field.
And to follow up on Mark Mangino, how will the offense change with Mangino?
We're going to be a spread system. It's a generic term, but we're going to deploy a lot of 3 wide receiver sets and a 1-back offense. We're not going to huddle. Those are things that are familiar to the Iowa State fan base and Big 12 followers in what we do. The change I think you're going to see will be in the varying pace that we utilize, and also the simplicity of what it is we're trying to accomplish. We're not smart enough in Ames, and even though he has several nicknames that would indicate that we're going to go out and outsmart other coaches and other teams. We want to be simple where our kids can execute at a high rate of speed, and I think that's exactly what Mark brings to our offense.
Got a question on the aisle left side.
American Statesman in Austin. Paul, you know, you're running the spread. Can you tell me, as a defense coach, I mean, trying to recruit to a defense that plays a lot of spread offenses, how has your recruiting changed over the years? And can you talk about how the spread has affected your defense trying to defend those teams?
I'll answer that question in 2 ways, in how you recruit kids. I think you recruit kids to the Big 12 Conference to play defense very positively because of the offensive talent that they're going to face. You look at the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the running backs that our league has been producing here in the very recent times, and you're telling a young man he gets to line up, and that's who he's building his resume off of, defending those guys. That's who they want to play against. They want to play against the best in the country, and it's a positive influence for our league in recruiting. How it's impacted who you recruit, we very much recruit deeper numbers in the secondary. We recruit 12 guys from a roster standpoint. We're recruiting a true nickel type of linebacker, outside guy that's a hybrid safety, cornerback, linebacker type that's not going to be in the box in a regular basis. Then we're also recruiting that guy. You're looking for as much speed as you possibly can, and at a place like ours, the hardest position to recruit is not just the defensive line, but the interior defensive guys. And when it's hard to find those guys, you better be able to use a system that allows you to put guys out there that can be effective against spread offenses, because that's what we're seeing.
I've got a question in the middle section right over here, Coach.
David Oven, Fox Sports Southwest. Paul, when you were talking to Mark, how much do you think that having guys like Aaron and EJ and Clayton, experienced offensive talent, how much do you think that influences as you come to Iowa State and see it as an attractive opportunity?
I think he wanted to know that the cupboard wasn't bare, and I think he found that out. I also know he was anxious to get back at this level. You know, Mark and his wife, Mary Jane, had been through cancer, Mary Jane's cancer, and beat that. And I think he gained a different perspective on a game, on a life, being able to step back a little bit and get back into it at Youngstown State and get the taste for it. He wasn't going to just jump back in at any job. I think he saw the opportunity for success at our place. He liked the way that the program was being run. He knew that we're full of toughness from playing us in 2009 and talking to other people that have been playing us since then. But yeah, the fact that there were some players in place, I'm sure was very much a part of the decision.
Got a question on the right side on the aisle.
Paul Blair Kirkhoff with the Kansas City Star. Going back to something you just mentioned about recruiting defensive linemen, especially interior defensive linemen, why is it so difficult for your program? Has that been historically true as well?
Well, Blair, I think it's not just our program. I think it's historically true across the country. And the simple answer to that question, you know, you walk through any shopping mall, you don't see a lot of 6'6", 290-pound guys that can run really fast, nor anywhere else walking around the streets. The numbers of those guys, they just don't exist, and we all want them. And so every time you find those guys, the halves in this game of college football, the traditional great college programs, they're going to get first crack at those guys. We're going to take guys that on occasion are 230 pounds and develop them to be that 290-pound guy. A name you might remember, and some others, Jordan Karstens, who I recruited as a walk-on at Iowa State, had to talk Mackin to bring him in as 105 of 105, and he goes on to play the National Football League with Carolina. He was about 210 pounds coming out of high school and ends up being an all Big 12 player. So you got to project and you got to get lucky at places like ours that high-profile athlete doesn't usually have a lot of interest in, quite honestly.
That was Iowa State head coach Paul Rhoads talking about what's to come in the 2014 season for his Iowa State Cyclones. They started off well, but took some major league hits along the way, especially that loss to Texas. But it looks like he has the ingredients to bring his team back to winning prominence back in the Big 12. More of the Donniesport football show from the Big 12 Media Day in Dallas, Texas, coming right up on the Donniesport 17 Network.